live and down November. Maybe this one. Yeah, I needed to check the other one.
Nice. And I believe you're live. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a different link as always. I basically paid myself and to you 2 cents by clicking on a thingy.
Nice.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Coding Addict. And as always, I am joined by Paul Bratlowski, the mastermind behind Coding After 30, and developer advocate for the greatest CMS created.
Greatest.
Greatest
CMS created.
Yes,
By
greatest
the way, which
ever.
is Strappy.
Which is Strappy. And and we're joining you to have a live about the coding. Sorry, my daughter came in the room, so she's gonna distract me a little bit.
She's like, "Hey, daddy."
Yeah, she's. So yeah, we have live stream. One second.
She's like, "Come on, daddy, you gotta play with me. You gotta do this. You gotta do that, man." Kids are so cute, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, my apologies. We might have these little disruptions here, distractions. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna have another Web Dev Power Hour live streams /podcast. And before we continue, if you want to check out some cool content, be sure to visit Paul's channel, Coding After 30. While you're there, smash the like button and everything. If you prefer the podcast format, you can always find us at webdevpowerhour.com as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for Web Dev Power Hour. And I have a small gripe with YouTube. Yeah. Before we continue and talk about the week and everything, I just quickly want to say that what I was thinking that when I scheduled the stream, that everyone who wants to, let's say, ask us the question or from the previous stream, they can leave it there. But for some reason, they're deleting. So let's say if somebody, let's say if I post for next week, the stream at 8:30 or whatever, I was thinking that you can come there, leave a question, and we'll just start with those questions, right? Maybe the ones that we didn't answer. No, it's like it leaves like only one question. So yeah, sorry, that's my gripe. Anyway, Paul, how are you doing? Paul is going to places.
Good, doing good. Yeah, we went to Jamstack, which was a lot of fun.
Jamstack,
my first conference. I am like, it was really, really exciting. But I realized that when you plan conferences, you need like a day before and day after. Don't try to just like travel back to back and then the next day like you have to be at work, because that's hard. That was my gripe. It's like I was like, I did not sleep enough. What the hell?
Okay, let's start with how did you like San Francisco?
First of all, San Francisco is really cold. Like Texas is way warmer. San Francisco is freezing right now. I needed to literally bring like winter clothes this time around. It was pretty insane. So the whole time I was like shivering. I was like, what is happening right now? But it was nice. I really liked it. Really cool place. Definitely too cold for me in San Francisco though. Like I would have to move to like San Diego. Like, I mean, LA is warmer, of course, but yeah, it's
that's the thing about Northern California and Southern. That's the first thing kind of I learned, that once you go there are huge differences. Like we were in Sacramento. I would say it was a little bit more doable just because Sacramento is not a town that you kind of walk around. You essentially just drive around. Like obviously in San Francisco, you're able to go places just by foot. But I didn't like, I think there was not enough sun for me as for starters in San Francisco. It was kind of like all the time gloomy and whatever. So
yeah.
So like Southern California definitely from that perspective was better. All right. And then how about the conference?
The conference was really awesome. Like saw like a lot of cool people. I didn't get to watch all the talks because I had to like work and be doing part of the booth, but it's like really cool to see other companies and network and kind of see how things work. If anyone is able to go to conferences, like I think it's like pretty fun, pretty cool if you could do it in person. And it was just cool, like after the pandemic, to like actually do stuff face to face. That was like really nice and awesome. But man, it was pretty insane because it was a lot of other CMS companies there, and so it's kind of cool to see like, you know, how competitive the like that particular part of the industry is, because there's a need for it apparently. And so it's pretty cool though. It's kind of cool to see what everybody else is doing and kind of, you know, hear all the cool stuff. But yeah, it was great. It was great. Highly recommend people to go
I
to
do have
conferences.
to ask you, is it still the case where the major players in CMS are from Europe?
To be honest, I don't know
Contentful,
where all the
Strappy.
companies are, but yeah, a lot of them are from like Europe. Yeah, there's a lot of different ones, which is cool, you know, interesting. You know, but it's, to me, like, it was just kind of cool to see that there's this thing that exists. My cat is about to jump on the keyboard, so I had to catch it quickly because it's just gonna be shows
We
over.
have tonight. We everyone decided in our houses to join the
But
the fun. So
yeah, I was gonna say, like, just the power of having a CMS to allow people who like, you know React or Vue, whatever like framework, front end framework you like, to give them opportunity to build applications like really, really quickly without having to be a backend developer. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, to me, that is something that I really, really excited about. And yeah, and I'm excited because I've been doing a lot of Remix, and Next.js is really awesome too. By the way, if anybody's building stuff, Next.js is definitely a good thing to learn. But I've been playing a lot with Remix, and so I'm like really excited how Remix and Strappy work together. And then I'm also excited for the fact, and I know we talked about it a little bit, how Remix was acquired by Shopify. I think that's going to be really awesome. I can't wait to see like the changes they're going to make, because I think it'll be pretty cool to kind of try building some e-commerce store using Shopify, like kind of, ecosystem, to be like, hey, this is another cool thing I could do. Because, not saying that I want to work as a freelancer, but I think staying on top, especially the way things are now, like having a skill where you could create websites, for clients, if you were to go, let's say, freelancing route, I think it's a good skill to have, just because you never know what will happen. And look at Facebook, look at Twitter, everybody's like getting out. It's like, go, we don't need you, bye. So I was kind of like thinking about that, like, like, if I were not to have a job, like, how could I use my skills in a very marketable way to get side projects and stuff like that? So
yeah, that's an interesting point. I also like I actually today I had this week I had a conversation with somebody in Germany who's also trying to get into industry and everything. That was one of the suggestions that I made, that maybe instead of going, trying to be full stack junior, there's really no need. Then just, utilize the skills that you have right now for front end, utilize the greatest CMS ever, aka Strappy,
yeah.
and then build some more complex projects, and then go there as a front end dev, and start there instead of trying to go that route.
I was going to, speaking of which, the stream after this, because I stream on my channel like on Friday nights, 9 p.m. CST, I'm actually going to take a step back and go through like a basic way to set up Strappy. So anybody interested, feel free to join and jump on. And using Remix, be pretty cool.
But would you say that, like, for anyone who's thinking about, let's say, a library React one, and let's say they decide to go with Remix, do they need to? Would you suggest doing a TypeScript first for them? Let's say understand the basics at least, or just try to kind of skip it all the time when you're learning Remix?
That's a really, really good question. I would say don't let TypeScript stop you from trying Remix. So that's kind of like what I did. Otherwise, I would not be doing Remix, because I'll still be learning TypeScript. And I think for your initial project, just especially if you're familiar with JavaScript, because it gives you options. You could either set it up with TypeScript or you could set it up with JavaScript. Just do your first kind of learning application with JavaScript, and then afterwards you could come back for your second application, use TypeScript. I would still recommend that route, especially if you've never done TypeScript, because I feel like Remix is too cool to wait to learn now. Because you're like too busy either learning TypeScript or don't know TypeScript. So start the initial project with JavaScript, and then for your second one, use TypeScript.
And it's easy to kind of omit it, right? It's easy to be like, no, I'm not going to
Literally
go.
from the settings, it'll ask you, do you want to use TypeScript or do you want to use JavaScript? And if you say JavaScript, it'll just be JavaScript. If you say TypeScript, it'll be TypeScript. And even if you make a mistake by using TypeScript, you could literally still work in the TypeScript project and rename the file that you're working in as a like .js or .jsx, and then you'll be fine. It won't complain about anything. So
it's a little bit similar to Redux Toolkit is the same way.
Yeah.
Where basically even in a docs, they give you two options. You can pick the TypeScript one, or you can pick the regular one. However, now again, they're switching a little bit things around, I guess, for Redux Toolkit number 2.0, sorry. Where they like already some features they're kind of more pushing towards kind of the TypeScript world. So
and I think that's where everybody's going. It's definitely TypeScript all the way. But I feel like you shouldn't, like, in my opinion, it's like, learning TypeScript, it's something everybody should be starting. But because you don't know TypeScript, I wouldn't like say wait and try Remix. I think try Remix, you could do it at any time. And I'm excited like to kind of see how Shopify is going to implement Remix, because it's kind of cool technology, and it'll be cool to build some e-commerce projects utilizing Shopify.
Yeah, if you have, let me check the chat. If you have any questions, just let us know, and we'll try to answer to the best of our knowledge. I was just looking for, I think I had like a question during the week, and now I cannot find it. That's why I'm complaining about the live stream setup, because I really would want to have like one place where we can have all the questions, let's say for the week, and then maybe we can start with them. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I don't know. I can technically every week set up some kind of Twitter feed, but that's going to be annoying because not everyone uses Twitter.
I wonder if like you'd use like Typeform and create some sort of form where people could just like put questions, and you could always reference whatever, like just one single form, and you'll just have like people pile on questions, and that way, we could have a list of questions. The questions we answer, we could like delete, and the questions that we didn't get to, we could get to at a different show. You know what I mean?
We could. The only issue with that one is that I found that when people need to show even their face or whatever, not even the face, but just like a nickname at least or something, then you get less of a some kind of dumb comments or whatever. Usually, that's why, for example, I like Twitter, because at least there's some kind of profile behind it. Yes, they might be fake, it might be whatever, but at least there's something, right? So you have like, because usually what happens if you have just like plain old good old, form, then you're just getting like, dude, you suck. And that's about it. And then every day when you re-have, like, it doesn't like change my day, but I'm like, if I can avoid that, why not?
Yeah.
So.
That's just, to me, that's hilarious. Like people that have time to leave negative comments. Like to me, it's just like, that's funny. It's like, that's time you could spend like doing a little bit more coding. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's funny. But some people just like to troll for fun to see if they get a reaction. But at the same time, it is.
No. It's definitely one of those cases which you talked about. We have discussed this already before, that, for a lot of them, it's the case where, they don't have much to lose. You make a fake profile, go in there, act like an idiot, and then the person loses, and then he's the one who looks like stupid, right? Because you're already long gone, and you're just like, hey, I was just messing with him, like, So yeah. That's the case. We have Alex. Alex, what time it is? I mean, I was trying to schedule as late as possible so you can make it. It's the same as Tammy. It looks like Tammy is still stuck in traffic. So, yeah, it's nice to see you, Alex. Hopefully you're doing good. Our mid engineer here. And then we have a question, but it's going to be a little bit, I wouldn't say off the topic, but it's a little bit different. So let me start reading. Okay. Thanks, guys, for your time. I really appreciate. Can you shoot? Can I shoot a fast one, John and Paul? In the last session, Paul talked about public speaking. It's vital for us to also acquire the soft skills. I've been taking online courses to improve my English speaking skills. Can you recommend an online platform where I could get instant feedback on my speaking skills concerning English? Continued. Or better yet, can you kindly maybe schedule one of the sessions in live conference format like the Google Meet format so we can improve on the soft skills? In the last, okay, this is just repeating. This is pretty much the same question. Yeah. As far as schedule live format, I don't know whether that would be possible, but I mean, I don't know really the platform that would give you right away feedback. You essentially would need to get a tutor who right away would be able to correct you. But
Yeah.
just by getting it out there and speaking, I would definitely say meetups. Then again, that
Yeah.
depends what language do they speak. But if you want like instant feedback on your tech knowledge on whatever you're presenting, then the meetup, because that's going to be, I also think that is going to be the friendliest way, because in face people are not as often, they're like kind of mean, let's say. They at least try to, be
Yeah.
positive or whatever in most cases, or they just ignore you. That's another one. But at least rarely somebody goes up to it and says, dude, you suck. So
No. Meetups always have like very positive people because real developers, they understand the struggle. And so they know what it's like, learning something new, and they know the struggle, and they know that programming is hard. So a lot of times people that have been in dev for a while, I never get negative comments. It's always like constructive, positive stuff that is really, really helpful. And so that's the type of environments like meetups kind of promote. And I remember going to meetup and hearing some of the questions and like just being like, man, that was like a tough question somebody asked from the standpoint like they're not quite sure what they're asking themselves. And like the host was like so polite and helped them out. And I was just like, that's what it's all about, is really being positive, being very helpful, because you don't want to hurt someone's confidence who's just learning and starting out, because you don't want to dismotivate them from continuing. So meetups definitely a great place. Another thing that I would say, if you want to practice skills, and let's say you don't have somebody to practice with, honestly, this is what I used to do. And part of the reason why I still do live coding on YouTube is record yourself talking about your project that you built, and then rewatch it and kind of see like, hear yourself talk, see where you're kind of stuttering, see where you're maybe not explaining things clearly, and then self-record yourself and use that as a way to practice kind of and keeping track of your progress. You know what I mean? And so over time, you're going to get more and more comfortable speaking about the projects that you're building. And I know like, Engine Boy's here. Engine Boy, I came on to my stream to talk about his project. And, even though he was talking about it in the chat, like it was still like really cool. And that's like one way to practice, is literally share what you're learning with others. And over time you'll get better. But there's no like magic formula outside of just talk about the things that you're doing.
Actually, I really want to jump on this one, because this is something that I've been kind of watching, and I'll explain in a second how and why. And yeah, this is a great idea, by the way. This is awesome. So I actually originally got, at least on my before you said it, I saw it. Remember we talked about developer Natasha. I forgot. I'm sorry, her channel, whatever. I'll leave the link again in the description and everything. But this is what she's doing. She's on a YouTube channel. One of the series that she does, she's basically building projects, and she just kind of goes through it. Like, okay, this is the project that I built with Tailwind, React, and blah blah blah, and something else, right? And you don't have to like schedule something for 3 hours or whatever. It's literally a 10-minute video or whatever, where you explain, this is the feature that I'm building. This is how it looks like. And in my opinion, this does like many good things where again, you're talking about your project, you're explaining what technologies you're using. That's already to somebody who, let's say you apply to for a job, you can show them, you're like, look, I'm showing the project. So at least they can go there and be like, okay, at least he knows what he's talking about, even before the interview, right? Second one, you can showcase your project. So people already can see, okay, So he's building something interesting, right? So you can get to meet some people who are also doing something really cool. And I think that's a great one because it doesn't require any kind of setups, any kind of, again, extensive planning. That's it. You just build a project and you just talk about it with whatever microphone. It doesn't matter because the quality of what you build is gonna be way more important than, let's say, even your delivery or whatever. But you can work on those things. And speaking of Engine Boy, he should definitely record a video of him going over that project because I really found it like really cool. The one that he made, that bug tracker. I think
Yeah, it
that's
was
the
pretty
one.
intense. Pretty intense. It's
If
like
if you keep
really good
like
project.
people keep asking like, hey, what to build, and let's say, again, I've always said if you can build e-commerce, that's still a good project, right? But when you're like whatever that bug tracker, as far as the front end dev, just awesome, just
Yeah.
awesome, awesome project.
Yeah, when you can build something like he did and then talk about it comfortably, to me, I was like, I had a hard time calling him a junior developer after he walked me through his project because I was like, bro, there's a lot of good stuff here. You did a really great job. Yeah, and that's definitely like good point and something that I do like my last job where I had to do like a take home build a project. I built a project, but then I also recorded a quick video describing like what I did, how to set it up, and how to run it for someone who's going to be, who was going to test my project. And I think it really helps, to do that, to allow you to feel comfortable about, talking about what you've done. And for me, one of the reasons I still like record myself coding live, it's not for the viewers' benefit, even though it's cool that more people jump on, but it's for me to constantly practice getting comfortable talking about my code and thinking out loud. Because at interviews, that's exactly what you're doing. You're literally troubleshooting in real time or answering questions in real time, and kind of having that as a practice will go a long way.
Yeah, that's something that Wes Boss mentioned from one of the things that he does is the greatest coding podcast ever, Syntax FM. If you are not listening,
greatest podcast. This is the one to listen to. But yeah, then if you want to hear somebody else, some guy,
Syntax
Wes
FM
Moss,
is our little brother.
Syntax with John, whatever, Scott
Talinsky,
whatever. Nobody, small folks.
If I were you, Paul, I would like next thing. What's gonna happen? You're gonna meet them in the next Jamstack and whatever, and they're gonna be. Paul, could you elaborate? What did you mean?
I mean, clearly, if they don't know that I'm joking, like, okay, that's a whole different conversation.
No. I know. Messing.
But speaking of that, it's so funny because completely like off topic, but I get intimidating by meeting like who I think are famous people. And for instance, like Wes Boss would be one of them. Another one is like Theo from Ping, who's like has a really good YouTube channel, talks very technical stuff, very knowledgeable. And I saw him at Jamstack, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go say hello. I'm gonna say hello, and it's literally like a prom dance. You would have thought I would have. I didn't do it. I punked out. And I was like,
I don't blame
whatever.
you. I don't blame you. I would do the same thing. Yeah.
And then I saw somebody else take a picture with him. I'm like, that was that easy. I could have done it.
Listen, okay, but I do have to ask you, how many like tech celebrities did you see? Like the ones that most people know. Did you like see a lot, or it was like, okay, one?
It was a decent amount of like some of the people I follow on Twitter. It wasn't like 100, but it's definitely like 5 people that I recognized. I was like, oh wow, like that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? And it really depends like what circle you hang out in, but yeah, but for me, like the one that like I was like really intimidated by was like Theo, because he's like very knowledgeable. Like he makes like really good content on YouTube. And to me, it's like, I was like, oh man, it's like being at a concert and seeing like Michael Jackson, be like, oh my God, I didn't go that crazy.
But let me ask you this. Okay, let's put music aside, right? But let's elaborate on this one. Imagine there's a different industry, pottery, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there's some famous guy, but you don't know him. You don't care about pottery. And if somebody would tell you, hey, can you go and get me like whatever selfie or whatever with this guy, like,
if you don't care, you would do it.
You would definitely do it, right? Because you don't you
don't care. You're like, whatever, who cares?
So where I'm going with this, what's funny, right? So in our kind of circles, some people are, more famous than others. And again, I'm saying for all the right reasons. in most cases, right? But it was funny when so there's this guy called, well, his initials are DHH. So he's the guy who is basically behind Ruby on Rails, and he
Yep.
has many famous companies. He's like, driving fast cars, lives on Malibu, whatever.
Yeah.
But he, for some reason, because of there was some complaint about Apple Card or whatever, he got on the actual news, news, not
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and then in there he was kind of, they didn't even know who he was. He was kind of
Yeah.
described
Different circle.
as like, basically, I just this random white guy or whatever. And it
Yeah.
was just funny. Somebody on Twitter mentioned
Hilarious.
that we're like lose our, basically, I'm gonna say something rude, like shit over
Yeah.
some people,
Or
and then
some
in the regular
nobody
world
knows who they are.
they're like
Nobody knows
like
who they are.
who
No,
is this, like
it's like, who's that guy?
some dude some over there. So all I'm saying that is, I'm totally with you. I would chicken out, right? I wouldn't even probably elaborate in my head, but I'm just saying that it's funny that it really depends on the circumstances, because if you don't know that person, if you don't have, like, you're like, well, of course I'm gonna go and take a selfie, like, I
The
don't care what he thinks of me.
the
So
funniest thing about Theo, this is like was hilarious because he actually is someone in the industry, very well respected, has the chops to back it up, knows what he's talking about. So he was voted as one of the, and he ended up winning as the best YouTuber, like tech YouTuber at the moment. And what's funny is I was one of the runner-ups, not for the best YouTuber, but the best
live
streamer. I
streamer.
didn't win, but it was hilarious because it was like the same stage where they showed like his picture and like him like winning, and then like my picture of like some random dude that people probably like, who's this coding after 30 anyway? Like nobody knew. But what's cool is like, because they were like, okay, we don't know who's going to be the winner. We're going to decide who the winner is at the show. But they're like, but we want them to record like them accepting their award. So they sent a trophy to everybody, even though they know. So I lost. I didn't win, but I got the trophy here, and and so I'm not like, obviously I'm not gonna lie, be like, hey, I won, like whatever. But it's kind of funny, and so it's like he's got one, I got one, except he won and I
Okay, I
didn't.
really
Which
want to
is
see that
hilarious.
acceptance video now.
Hilarious. I didn't record it though because I was so busy for work that I didn't even see that we had to like record like a video,
Okay.
kind of getting or whatever. So I kind of didn't do any of the preparation, but whatever. It is what it is. It's fine. But it was hilarious. And then we went to like some like after party, which was like for like people who like sponsored the event. And I saw him there and I was like, man, here's your opportunity. And again, I chickened out. It was just so funny and literally is like so silly. So in the next event, 100%, I'm going to go and talk to him. So I'm not going to be a chicken. Not going to be a chicken. It's just the way it is.
No, but it's totally, I 100%, I 100% see your point. I also would probably debate in my head and then be like, next time. So we have a few news. So we have 2 questions, and we also where Tammy joined our chat, which is awesome. So she fought the traffic and now she's home. So we have 2 questions. One is going to be pretty short, at least from my part, and then the other one is going to be something that I can elaborate on. So the first one is, can you talk about Rust web frameworks like Actix Web or Rocket? And I'm first time hearing these, so that's all I can say. What about you?
Yep, same. I like not even going to try Rust, and not because like I'm not curious about it, but because like the things that it's used for is not the stuff like I'm building, and so to me it's not like in my wheelhouse, like what Rust is used for, the type of projects that I build. So I'm not even trying to kind of even look in that direction. But I know that it's very fast and it has a lot of great benefits, but it's not the type of programming that I do, and so for me it's almost like no reason to kind of learn it at the moment.
Okay, so that was the first one. And then also Engine Boy said, I did record one, but only basically the video about his project, but I posted it on LinkedIn. Can you share the link so I can repost on, let's say, Twitter? And yeah, and maybe you do need to decide how to get it on YouTube.
Yeah, I definitely say it. Even if you don't want to share it, definitely if you feel comfortable sharing, share it. But even if you don't share, like practicing recording, talking about stuff, it's such a good learning experience. So I had Engine Boy on, I had this other guy, Luke, on, where they share their project. And here's the coolest part: because it's something they built, I was able to literally ask, Engine Boy, like, hey, what does line 40 says? Like, what does this code mean? And he was able to tell me exactly what it was. And the even cooler part was, he's like, hey, like, I did this project a while ago. It took me like 4 months to complete, or 3 months. I forgot exact date. And he's like, some of the things that I wrote initially, I could probably refactor because I now know a better way of doing it. And the fact that he's able to talk about his code like that and see the things that he would have done differently if he were to do it again, it's like really showcase not only his understanding in his project, but the fact that by the time he was done with his project, he learned so much about coding that he had new, better ways of doing things that he did early on. And it's kind of awesome. And I think like everybody should do that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely also one of those points where if you're procrastinating because you're thinking about, okay, I want to do one way or the second way or a third way, uh, at least my issue usually is that I spend literally sometimes 2 hours just going back and forth. And then at the end of the day, what still happens is that I build one way and I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. Okay, let me try the other way and the third way. So where I'm going with this, in my experience at least, like start with something, make something, because otherwise, if you're just staring at the screen and debating between three or whatever options, it's kind of, I mean, it takes a long time, and you waste your time.
Yep.
I like Alex's comment. I wouldn't go talk to some famous genius programmer. What if he asks me some algo things?
Then you just say, hey, I don't know, tell me more about it. I'd love to learn. It's like, it's fine. Yeah.
Imagine if Theo starts like, kind of quizzing you, like, hey,
Yeah.
how do you sort binary tree?
Here's the funny thing. So I tell people, like, listen, you got to start building things from scratch, like right away. But then he says that also. And I'm like, now people are going to think that I got it from him. That wasn't like my idea. But I mean, it's just funny. The funny part is that I could say something and then people be like, no, but maybe there's an easier way. And then Theo, because of his authority, could say the same thing. And people be like, oh my God, this like the most amazing like epiphany I just had. You got to build stuff from scratch to be able to like have the experience to, get a job. And it's like, I think everybody says that. If you can't build something from scratch, you probably don't have the skill to get hired. But that's pretty like funny and hilarious to me. But
that's one of those like, listen, I'm gonna tell you something personal. Basically, there are quite a few times where like I talk to my wife, I tell her something, and she's like, well, what about this and this and this? And I'm like, nah, that doesn't make sense. And then somebody, let's say Elon Musk, comes out and he's like, yeah, actually this way. And I'm like, yeah, that makes kind of sense.
Like my wife was right.
And then I go back and I'm like, yeah, you said that
yeah,
first.
Yeah.
But then,
Funny.
For example, like it was, so this was different example, but for me, it took me a long time to kind of realize that it's maybe not necessary all the time work like 60 hours a week, especially once you start having kids and everything, that you need to start managing kind of your life. Otherwise, just working all the time is not an answer to everything also. No. And yeah, it took me a while till I literally saw like example after example, somebody who already made it, and their view is exactly the same, where they go like, no, I have, I work, but I still have a personal life, and it doesn't mean that I'm like 60 to 80 hours all the time working, because at that point it kind of becomes, well, okay, well, what is the point working all the time? So yeah, that took me like a really long time to kind of go away from that mindset that you always need to be working. You can have decent set of hours and then you can still have a life. So
yeah.
So we have, what course are you guys talking about? I want to take it. I'm not sure. Maybe you need to elaborate. Maybe that was a different one. And there was another one about the React project. So question, John, for your React course, do you structure the projects to teach certain points? Yes. That's a short answer. How much off would it one be if they complete the project but different from your solution? So you wouldn't be off. I mean, for every project, you literally can do it in, I mean, at least three more ways, right? And you can still succeed. But they are structured in a way where, yes, so the first projects use the use state only. Then we go start with use effect. Then I don't remember the sequence exactly, but then we start working with context. And then and essentially all the time we just keep combining those things. But if you have
Yeah.
different solution, that's not a that's not bad or anything at all. It's if you can actually build it yourself prior to that, if you can just look at the project and be like, okay, I'm gonna basically make it this way, then it's even better. Then you can just take a look at my solution, and then you can compare. Because a lot of times it's very useful to know multiple ways how you can do that. Because let's say for that particular example, uh, you did it one way and then you saw my solution, right? But then maybe you'll have down the road some kind of question where you're not going to be able to do it one way or the other one or the third way, and in your like mind you'll be like, okay, but maybe there's this one other way how I can try. And that literally has saved me quite a few times where I'm like, I know multiple ways how I can achieve the same thing, and then in some other, let's say, project or where I have an issue, I can actually try one of those, and that one works out. Hopefully this makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Something that I wanted to ask you, John, how worried are you about seeing some of these like big tech companies laying people off? Like, and I know we talked like a little bit about last year. I know a lot of people have this on their mind, and so, what do you think of like Twitter, Facebook, Google like laying people off versus like normal people who are not, let's say, trying to get a job at Fang? Like, do you think it's going to be more difficult, or what's your view on this?
So this is like it's like an onion. There's many layers in here. As far as, do I think that the job market is going to be affected by layoffs in a Fang? Not really. I really don't think so. I
Yeah.
might be wrong. Second, we tend to have like when things are going like well, like let's say stock market, right? So the same as with job market. When things are going well, everybody thinks that that's it, we're shooting for moon. And then the moment something bad starts happening, then it's the opposite. Then we think, okay, then the world is basically ending. Where I'm going with this, that when I remember when COVID started, and Airbnb, also one of the companies that everybody would wanted to work for at
Yeah.
that time, right? Started laying off people because no one could travel. Whatever. Where I'm going with this, there was also this effect like, oh my god, there's like this is the greatest company, Airtable, not Airtable, Airbnb, and they're laying off the engineers, and like what is gonna happen, and all that, and nothing happened. Okay, they were layoffs. Then I'm not, I don't know the work history of every engineer who was laid off, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming some of them went back, and I do believe that most of them are working right now. Did
Yeah.
it affect like the let's call it the regular industry? No, it
Yeah.
didn't. But I do want to, of course, say like I was telling last time, where I mean, tech industry is not different than um, any other industry. So
Yep.
if you have a downturn, is it going to be hard
With
to
the
get a
economy, yeah.
job? Yeah. Is it going to
But
be
is
the
it going to be
case where,
impossible?
yeah, but is it going to be the case where companies are hire less? Yes, most likely. But again, it doesn't like kind of, I have been through 2008 and the same with COVID.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the world stops. It's just
Right.
things get harder. And yeah.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say to keep in mind, first of all, it's the end of the year. And so a lot of companies don't hire like anytime before, like in fourth quarter. And even though now like you said, the economical downturn, there's a lot of people that I friends with in the tech, all their companies for the past, like this quarter, fourth quarter, is that they had hiring freezes and they're not planning to hire anybody until like Q1 or Q2. So it's not saying that, uh, and not saying like there's still jobs they're hiring, and I'll kind of tell you like what I learned recently, which I thought was a brilliant idea. But it's like has their flows. And for instance, just to give you an example, at Strappy last quarter we hired like 30 people, and so this quarter we're not hiring because we have all the people that we really needed. You know what I mean? And so some companies, they go through that flow. And what I heard from some of the people that work at, like, let's say Shopify or like bigger companies, they said when the times were good, the company overhired and they hired way too many engineers that they needed. And now it's like you could look at it as like self-correcting. And so we don't know exactly like what's causing it. So I don't think people should worry about like, can I or not get a job? I think you should just continue to do the things that you're doing to bring you closer to getting your first interview. So don't let the news scare you, because at the end of the day, the only people that are not going to get hired are people that are stopped looking because they give up, because they started believing like all this like doom and gloom talk. Even if it's true or not, I think you should continue to apply and do the right things. And with that being said, I was talking to somebody, it's this company in Texas called HEB, and it's a supermarket chain. They're pretty big. And they are the ones that sponsor the local Remix meetup. And I was talking to one of the organizers, Brooks, and after every meetup, they're like, hey, we're hiring. If anybody has a resume, send it my way. And I was like, bro, like every company like I talk to, they all have some sort of freeze. I'm like, what's going on? And he literally looked at me. He's like, bro, this is the food industry. People need to eat regardless if it's good time or bad times. And so there's companies that thrive during bad times and good times because people like need to eat, or like, people need to like e-commerce or whatever. Like think of all those service industries and just apply to those more, like during the hard time where, there's still demand because they need people, because the business need to function. And I was like, wow, this is really brilliant. And I never thought about it. So sometimes like if the economy is tough, maybe you're not going to get the job you wanted, but there's still plenty of jobs where they need developers. And I thought that was kind of brilliant to take a look at the industry and try to go into an industry that is kind of not really affected by recessions as much as somebody else. Like if you think like, Facebook, where, and I'm just guessing here, I don't know anything about it, but let's just say like they thought VR is going to be better than anything. It's like people like staying at home is going to be like amazing. And then, the pandemic ended and then people doing stuff outside. That's probably a bad example, but it's like, then they realized maybe the demand is not going to be as great. So basically they're people hiring. And if you're in a recession, try to apply to those companies that you think are going to be recession proof. Basically companies that deal in the food industry or services that you need on day-to-day basis to kind of live your normal life.
Yeah, I actually want to add to all the great points to Paul's. I want to elaborate and add something where basically one of those things is that you don't know before let's say the crashes start, what is going to be the upside. So where I'm going with this, for example, when COVID happened, people like, yes, there was clear downside for, let's say, somebody who works at Airbnb. At the same time, just like Paul mentioned, because of COVID, the Netflixes of the world, the e-commerces of the world, all of those places actually had a massive boost. And now again, there's self-correction because COVID ended. Now people are actually getting outside and they're not watching as much as Netflix. Why do you think we have ads right now in Netflix? Because so
not enough people. Yeah.
I think that you cannot just say like we always act like we know what is going to happen. And when I say we, I'm talking about like every like article that comes out or whatever. Oh, this is going to be the case or that's going to be the case. And a lot of times something totally like unexpected happens, right? And that's number one. Number two, I really for a long time think that still, regardless of the current situation, whether it's going good, whether it's going bad, and I would even say even it's going, like, let's say I'm talking about the entire like economy, learning to code is the best investment you can do. And I compare that to basically a stock market, because when the times are good, everyone tries to put it in. But actually, the real money, you read any...
This is when things are bad.
Investing book, the best minds will say that the greatest time to invest is right now when no one wants to invest because everybody's scared. So where I'm going with this, yes, it might sound like, oh my God, the tech companies, the giant ones, they're laying off. It's still your best shot. Let's say if you want to switch the industries to learn to code, that's going to be your best investment in yourself. And it's going to pay off in some time. Yeah, I'm done with my rant.
Really good point. And I was kind of going to say, to bring it back, so like Saturday morning, I'm gonna do a stream called "What If No One Hires You?" And it's like very doom and gloom video. Like, what if I could not get a job? And so, with that being said, like the whole idea is that I still believe, even if all the doom and gloom going on, the best investment you could make in yourself is learning to code, because it's still a very high in demand skill. And the one thing that I wanted to bring up, because like even you, like I love your Twitter thing, which says creative Jobify that live. It's like a project, and people could check it out. But the reason why I say this is because you are developing a skill when you're learning to code to start your own thing or to build idea. And so what I would say, if you're afraid of like, am I ever not going to be hired? One approach that I like, that I think about often, is like literally, is I'm going to try to get good enough at coding that I could either get a job or I could build my own thing. And the cool part about it is that you could do that in parallel. And the reason why I like it is because regardless if you're building your own project that you're going to try to get real users to use, like your Jobify project that you have, but you're also learning all the skills necessary to continue to grow as a developer. So it's either that business idea that you try and you create a product for is going to take off, or you have enough skills, you're going to be able to get a job. And the reason why I keep bringing your project up is something why I'm building the thing that I'm doing on my channel, is because if you have a portfolio project, let's say that just a website, and you show it to someone, that's cool. But if you have a service that you build, and then you actually have real users using it, even if it like maybe like, because my project right now is broken as hell, but even if it's not like 100% working, when you tell and you show portfolio to someone, you're applying to companies like, hey, I built this service, I have like 100 of users or 200 or 1,000 users, that really shows that, number one, you're able to build things that people will use. Number two, you understand this process of deployment and going to market. And so you're literally building a very good reputation and kind of understanding what needs to be done, regardless if you have your own business or project you build, or if you're going to get hired. And so for me, that's how I think. It's like I'm consistently going to grow my developer skills to either one day have a winning idea that I could create my own SaaS or PaaS as a product, or I could get hired as a company. And there's one dude I know, like he has this weird niche, and he's a developer, but in his free time, he created a SaaS platform for a very niche, like sports betting website for people that really like to know about math stuff, whatever. I'm not really good at math, and different like probability of winning certain things. And he actually makes more money on his side job than he does at his job. And to me, that's like crazy. And that's the superpower you get by learning to code. And I really feel, no matter, like if I were to do it again, I would still not change anything that I've done. Like the only thing I would do is like, I wish I went into coding much younger than I could have. That'll be like the only thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually want to add 2 points to this one. So, as far as why it's beneficial to, even let's say the project doesn't take off, but like just Paul said, you went through the deployment process, getting the users, and let's say facing the issues. So, like I was complaining many podcasts, there was meetups in LA were not great. I can honestly say that. I was expecting more. Actually, in Chicago, they were way better. I haven't done any here in Sarasota, but yeah. But one of the ones that I went was it's called a Codesmith. It's like a coding bootcamp. So for first hour, they present their program and whatever, and then they do the meetup. So what stuck with me though was the fact that why, let's say the guy who was presenting that, he was like, if you go to a regular bootcamp, what do? At the end of the day, you build some kind of, let's say, Facebook app. What it means is you have like some kind of social app where, who joins it? Your friends, maybe your mom, your dad, whatever, right? And you have like 11 users. He's like, well, in here, what we do differently, we build basically tools that are used for developers. And what happens once you deploy it, you have like many, 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 many users. So you're facing a bunch of issues that you'll have in your job, your eventual job.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this bootcamp was more towards mid to senior or whatever. But where I'm going with this, Paul, is exactly correct. This is going to be the same case when you build your own stuff, and if you're lacking ideas, that's totally fine. It's hard to find those ideas. You can literally just sometimes copy, like if you see some kind of, I don't know, small, SaaS project, just copy it. Just like, okay, can I build this myself, right? If you're struggling for ideas, because for ideas, it's not that easy. Yes, Paul is correct. If you see, let's say, some kind of niche where you can be like, hey, in this case, it works, right? Something, there's some kind of tech solution for the industry that it wasn't there. Let's say a few days ago in my course, somebody shared a project where they were they took my Jobify application and they kind of made it. They added some AI features where it's kind of generating content for teachers to
Wow.
answer about let's say how the student is doing, how to set up an email, and essentially it's kind of like you just write like a few lines, like is it, the answer is going to be good, bad, whatever, and then the AI just like creates like a little like a message, and again it was basically built on top of that Jobify. So again, the person saw the need in that industry, and he right away got some. I believe he had like quite a few because he was, I guess, sharing with the teachers that were his colleagues and everything. So he right away got that feedback of what the issues were and everything. And that again, that is an incredible experience that it's very hard to buy. So yeah, those are the two things that I just wanted to mention on top of everything.
Yeah,
And
100%.
Alex is like, Alex, it's Saturday. You should be sleeping and resting. And he was like, he was leaving comments here that he feels like he's never working enough. Did you see his day in life, developer? He's
Yeah,
like,
like when he first recorded it. Yeah.
yeah, he's like freaking waking up at 3:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
nuts. Which
I'd
is
probably go
nuts.
to sleep at 3:30 in the morning. Then I wake up hopefully in
Yeah,
time for work.
Paul.
Um, yeah.
Paul is known for
Night
like
owl, night owl.
yeah, being a night owl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
but that's the one attitude like I guess like people should have, is that don't wait for stuff to happen. Try to build and find your opportunities. And of course, it's not easy. And the truth is, at the end of the day, like no one will do anything for you. So like even though like John and I talk about like stuff to help you and like different tips, like even though like we have like good resources for you to take advantage of, like John's courses are amazing, at the end of the day, like John is not going to complete those courses for you. I'm not going to do the interview for you. I'm not going to be the one like forcing you to wake up early and code like every like morning, man, because somebody just posted like it's 3 a.m.
yeah.
in Poland. Jesus Christ.
Go to
Stay.
sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
These are
appreciate you
recorded.
watching.
That's, I know these are recorded, by the way. You could also like, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is like this attitude of like, look, people could say whatever they want, like, but at the end of the day, they're not doing your work for you. And the only person that could get the job, learn the skill, go to the interview, wake up early, go to bed late, do what it needed, is you. And so if you're not doing the work, like if you're sitting at home and you're wondering like why, like here's I'm not going to say you because it's not fair for me to say that, but I'm going to tell you the most like valuable lesson I learned in my life. And I'm not going to tell you when it happened because it was probably like last year, but this is my favorite, like, saying, and it's kind of rude, but I'm going to say it. And I'm going to give the caveat. Sometimes you could be living in a country where you don't control like what's happening and there's nothing you could do. Like but for people that are living in a place where, let's say, you don't have that type of adversity, but the idea being here is that like my favorite saying is like, your life sucks because you suck. And I know it sounds vulgar, but that's literally how I think about myself. It's like, if my life is not going the way I want, it's probably because I'm not doing the things that will improve it. And I know that, and because in the past I've done many mistakes like a lot of people do, and I could see the consequence of literally not doing the right things. And the best thing we could all do is literally stay focused, stay on plan, and make more better decisions than bad decisions. And I know it sounds kind of like silly, like everybody knows that, but at the end of the day, like I've literally known people. So I'll use this girl Katya as an example, and I keep telling her she's got to jump on stream. She literally listened to my advice, which at that time, by the way, like nobody even knew who I was. And my advice at the time was like, listen, just take HTML, CSS course, one JavaScript, one React course, build a bunch of projects and start applying. That was like my advice. And she literally took it and ran with it. And by the way, she bought your HTML class and CSS class, your JavaScript class. She also bought the one where you did like Netlify functions, which I didn't take yet, to be honest. And she blew me away with that project. And then that's all she did. And then she just started applying and she got hired. So it took her almost like a year of studying to get it done, right? And she got it done. She got hired. Now she's been working for like past year, if not year and a half. And then there's people in that same chat that I shared the same things that I shared with her, like 3 years later, still haven't gotten anywhere. And I know there could be many reasons, but at the end of the day, it's like you yourself have to decide like what path that you take and how soon or how fast you want to get there. And so if you're watching, like, and I hate to say like a lot of YouTube, and you're thinking that there's some secret formula that John and I are going to tell you, we could just give you tips, but we can't guarantee anything except because we can't do the work for you. And that's, I see the difference between people that make it versus people that don't. And the only caveat that I want to say before someone says, Paul, that's very inconsiderate of you, is that there are people that living in certain like countries or certain parts of the world where there is no opportunity. They could study all they want, they could do everything right, and it's still no opportunity, and that's messed up. And if you're not living in a place like that, like, what do you like? Get out there and just continue like stepping 1 foot forward. And I know like John's gonna be like, man, that was one motivational talk. You just killing me with your Tony Robbins stuff. But
I forgot about them.
Yeah, I was gonna remind you because it's hilarious. But at the same time, that's like the reality and the truth. So I'm done. That was like a very long rant.
No. I like your rant, so I can add to one additional point. So I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the guy called Gordon Ryan. Definitely Paul knows him.
The best.
He's actually, they live in the same city. So I was just watching video about him, and one of the things that he mentioned why he's successful is because he's not like driving around seminars. And essentially the way it works, I mean, Paul obviously can elaborate on this way better, but I'm just going to tell you what I saw in video. What he was saying is that a bunch of people cannot train as much because they drive around seminars. When you drive around seminars, yes, it's great and blah, 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 but you lose on your training because it takes time to travel. You don't eat proper food, blah, 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 blah. And the way he does it, he just pretty much records. He flies out to Boston. There's a company, what was the BJJ Fanatics or whatever.
Yeah.
And he records and he makes tons of money. Now, of course, he's Gordon Ryan. He's the best, grappler, whatever. But he always suggests that to people. He's like, look, this is the way to go. You want to produce online content. And yes, it's going to take you longer and everything, but eventually you'll be able to actually, have more time on yourself, to do stuff that you're actually supposed to be doing, not flying around all the time. And he was just saying, like, look, I see right away when somebody takes the advice and somebody who doesn't, right? And that somebody who doesn't, they're just going to be like, hey, what should I do? And then he even you can give the person the right advice and they were like, nah, I'm just going to go there and ask for more and more. And then one more. And then there's some people who are like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, let me try it. And that's the pretty much biggest result.
Yeah, it's really like, yeah, that's a very good point, is to just do the right things. And if you see someone succeeding, like if you, like for him, for instance, he's like, I make more money creating like videos and selling them online, jiu-jitsu related, than doing seminars. Not only, and like you said, he's very famous, but even if he wasn't, the process that he's following, he basically figured out a way where he could leverage his time and scale it to the masses. Where if you're doing seminars, like even if you have the biggest seminar, you have like 300 people and like whatever, and it doesn't scale. And so basically what he's doing is, number one, having enough time in his schedule to continue to develop the skill to stay on top. And when it comes to his work, he's being very methodical to leverage his time where he only has to do things once. And I think that's like really, really, good lesson from him. But man, $250 for a goddamn jujitsu lesson. Jesus Christ. It's more expensive
No,
than
and just to add on that, the reason like why, let's say, why going around seminars is not good, because you get to teach those seminars because you're really good. Let's say you take high places. Now, what happens when you start missing the training and the diet and whatever and everything else, then actually your results suffer. As the results suffer, now you're not invited anymore to it. So it's kind of like this cycle where the better you're doing, the more seminars, but then it's harder to, you know, be the best one or whatever. And he avoids all that just by doing the online content. And again, I can say this because I've had many discussions with people who are not in even tech industry, and I'm looking what they're doing. I'm like, look, you need to create an online presence, because at the moment you're just chasing your own tail all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, mostly people don't take that advice. They're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, okay.
Like what I found out, people have like very selected. They have they have an idea in their mind of what it takes, regardless if it's right or not, and they're gonna find other people that say similar stuff rather than trying to kind of be like, maybe the other person was right. And so, to me, it's like, it's the action of you doing something that's going to be productive and get you to where you want to go. So if you're consuming all the time or following other people and not doing anything, that in itself is going to not bring you success. Because like, I wanted to, a long time ago, just completely off tangent, but I wanted to create an application which basically, without judgment, you just randomly ask you like, what are you doing? And it could be like randomly during the day, and it will just give you like two options. So the option would be like, are you behaving in a constructive way or a destructive way? Like, for instance, like watching 8 hours of TV or playing like 10 hours of video game could be destructive behavior if it's something you do more often, where learning to code or building a project would be a constructive. And so all I wanted to do, without judgment, have an app that randomly throughout my day asks me, what am I doing? And to see throughout my day, do I do more constructive behavior type of activities or destructive? And at the end of the day, like I could say with complete like positivity that the more constructive things you do, the more success you're going to have in life. There is no secret to kind of avoid that. And even like people who, for instance, like sell courses on how to be rich online, where like it's like they're basically just taking advantage of people who are down on their luck and selling like courses. But at the end of the day, they're still doing the work. They're still recording the videos. They're still, you know, creating the lessons. They're still doing the marketing. They're still doing like all this other stuff. So at the end of the day, like they're still doing the work, even though like the make money online courses are completely like bad for everybody, which is kind of, my cat just pressed the button to turn the light as much as possible. But the point that I'm saying is that regardless if it's good or bad, if you're doing the work, you're still going to see success. And that was like the weirdest way to go about like to make a point. So
yep,
whatever.
I can honestly say on the same, like this is a little bit off the topic, but the moment I deleted Facebook was the greatest decision of my life. It's just simply I like, I know it's gonna sound corny and idiotic maybe. I felt like I started living finally, because I know, like, I don't care like who did what. I'm actually concerned with my life instead of, not that I was all day long or whatever. I was still back then working and whatnot, but the point was I was still like mentally like, oh, you check the feed and this is happening, and why like he went to vacation there and I'm saying this whatever dinner, and now I just don't, and this is the greatest thing, because now I can focus on actually living my life. So again, sounds corny or whatever, but it's actually a very, very good point. We are 103. How are you doing, Paul?
Good.
Because
Let's
Paul has a live stream.
We'll do like another 6 minutes or so. I just wanted to add to that point is this idea of like, don't wait for others. Kind of like this idea, like when you're spending a lot of times on Facebook, you're kind of seeing what others doing. You're kind of like spending your energy on somebody else's life that has nothing to do with yours. And so I'll give you an example. Like I've been trying to get and work with more creators just for work or other stuff. And I wanted to like promote like this thing at work. And one of the ways I'm doing it is I'm creating these mini lessons and I'm reaching out to a bunch of different YouTubers to see if they want to like help me. And I basically record this whole video and say, hey, if this is something you want to use, you could go ahead and let me know if you have any questions. And there's this idea that when you kind of do that, you're doing it, that there might be an expectation like, oh, like they're going to do me a favor, they're going to let me like do this. And at the end of the day, nobody owes you anything. So there's some people I reached out to and they're like, yeah, sure, this is going to work. I had some people that I reached out to, they're like, yeah, sure, it's going to work. And then it doesn't. And at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, like this person, no, I can't blame anybody because they could make whatever decision they want. So what you have to do is not worry about what other people say or do, good or bad, but only worry about the things that you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to get too discouraged. So for me, I'm like, oh, they didn't want my video. That's fine. I'll just go and do like the next person and the next person and continue moving forward. So don't let like obstacles where other people say stuff to you where you thought maybe like I'm like, it could even apply to somebody said, oh, we saw your resume, we're definitely going to hire you. And then you go to the interview and they're like, oh, we decided to go with somebody else. It's like, it could be like very hard to deal with. But at the end of the day, that's reality. And what you should do is just try your best to spend least amount of time dwelling on that rejection and just be like, you know what can I learn from this experience? And let me just move to the next person. And that's like another attitude that's been like really helpful for me, because it doesn't matter what happens in my life, as well, like as long as I'm like alive and able to do stuff, like I'm always going to be like, hey, this opportunity didn't work out. What's next? What can I do? I'm not going to dwell on being like, oh my God, I'm a failure. It's more like, what can I do better next time to continue to go forward? And so like really live your life, make decisions for yourself, rather than waiting on opinions of other people, tell you what you should be doing. Decide for yourself.
But on that note, I do want to, hopefully this is not going to take long, but I don't know, like, I'm curious about your opinion. So when you have this moment, right? So when things don't work out, again, that could be many things. Again, like you just said, not getting a job. That's one of the key, like kind of the ones that I think everyone understands, because that really sucks. I remember 2 years ago, I was like at the point where there was an interview with the team, and I was supposed to meet with the one by one after that. Then they just like, no, we went different direction. I was like, and that one, like that kind of, it sucked. I'm not gonna lie, like, especially because it was supposed to be like, it was in the middle of like, I was like, oh, I must really like sucked at whatever that the team meeting, because like they were like, no, we'll go different direction. So my question to you is, do you like try to just like brush it off, or you're like, okay, let me just kind of like mentally see where I'm at and then kind of move on? I don't know whether that makes sense. Or you're like, I'm just gonna be positive and whatever.
No, like then you'll be like a sociopath. Like, you know what? Like, so I had really bad things happen, and like, and some of my viewers know, like this year was brutal to me, to a point where I had to take break off YouTube, and like I went through like a point of I was depressed. And so hurt is real, like pain is real. But I'm not going to go into like details, because many of you in the viewers have been through something so bad and painful that like life sucks. Like we all been there. So the point that I was going to say, even if that's the case, what benefit do you get to kind of dwell in it? Like, what does it bring to your life? And I know it's hard, and I know it's hard to get out there, and sometimes you need to go and seek help and like whatever from people to talk to. But the point is, what's the upside? It's like there is no upside of like, so to me, it's like as best as you can, try to dwell in that as least amount as possible, deal with it, but then move forward, like keep going forward, move forward and continue doing your thing. It's like a lot of people's like, but what if like I lose my job? What if my car breaks? What if like my, cat dies? Like whatever, like they always think like, what if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't happen? And you kind of always live in fear. And so what I like started to think is like, but what if I do get the job? But what if like this relationship like pans out? What if like this opportunity works? And so instead, I just try to take advantage of things that do work out. And if things don't work out, I try to, and I'm not a robot. So sometimes like based on like the things that happened to me this year, like I literally needed 3 months of like clearing my head. Like it was like that serious, and like, took time. But at the end of the day, you're still better off like focusing on like, what if this works? What if I get this job? What if I get this opportunity? Because that's a more productive way to live your life. Because if you're consumed by negativity, you might get to a point where you'll never get out of that hole. And I've seen many situations where people never got out. And so to me, like, living in negativity is kind of like the most dangerous thing you could do. And to be honest, one of the things that I do, and one of the lessons that I taught my daughter, that I'm kind of like, from all the things that she learned, I said to her, remove all the negative people in your life and don't associate with them, because it will never be helpful. And so I kind of live by that as well. I give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt. I'm always friendly. But when I see someone's attitude or actions are not like benefiting me and staying positive in my own life and being motivated in my life, like, I will create space and I will distance myself. And the hardest thing is, like, if those are people in your family, but eventually your family will come around, I'm hoping. But yeah, that's kind of like the policy that I take, is just surround yourself with positive people and be positive yourself. Because, like, I much rather be delusionally optimistic and have hope that something positive is going to happen in my life, rather than being pessimistic, where I'm constantly living under fear of failure. And that's kind of like my take on that.
That's funny though, because you're like one of the most positive people I know. That's why I keep doing these live streams, because it's always nice to talk to you, because you always have the positive spin on stuff. I know that it's under the behind the scenes, everybody.
I'll tell you a secret. Is because, like,
coffee.
I am
cigarettes,
coffee,
drugs.
No, it's because I literally lived the negative life and nothing positive came from that. And so at least, like, let me, like, be positive, even though positive things are not guaranteed to happen. But I found that things tend to be better, if you constantly go on the side of being positive, good natured. And I'm not perfect. It's definitely a struggle at times, but I still feel like, stay positive, hold your head up, stay up straight, go forward, and associate yourself with people that literally want you to succeed. And and at the same time, don't expect anything from others. Like, so I used to read a bunch of books on stoicism and, like, a couple of different philosophies they have. Like, one is, you can only control the things that you can control, like how you experience things. But you can't, like for instance, let's say I came over your house, John, and you literally just out of nowhere punched me in the face. Like, I have no way of, like, controlling that or predicting that what's going to happen. That's out of my control, and I can't worry about it until it happens. And so, like, the idea is, number one, focus on only the things that you could control, and don't focus on things that are outside of your control, because they're just going to create a lot of, like, uncertainty in your life. And number two, like, this is why I'm positive, is because in stoicism, there's this thing where you basically wake up in the morning and you say, today, I'm probably going to find someone who's going to ruin my day. They're going to be the worst person ever. They're going to make fun of me. They're going to kick me, sand in my face or whatever. They're going to, like, steal something from me. Like I literally, like, think of something terrible is going to happen to me. And that's just reality of life. And you don't know when that's going to happen. And so instead of, like, worrying about that, I'm just going to live my life the way I can. And for majority of times, something that terrible doesn't happen to me. So basically, I assume the worst. And when it doesn't happen, I feel really grateful and happy. So there you go. I'm actually a pessimist.
No, that's a good one. That's because usually you can be like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? And then again, it depends on the situation. Let's say, I don't know,
the world, yeah.
Going, like, again, just to iterate, right? Going to talk to somebody. Well, like, what is the worst thing? Okay, they can turn around, they can they can eat me, they can go right away on Twitter and say, this guy approached and he's like, I'm over exaggerating right now. But again, the fear is real. But talking to yourself and being like, okay, what is the worst? And usually the worst thing doesn't happen. Anyway.
So,
sorry.
I'm literally going to go, like,
time?
in a minute, like, literally, because I'm going to stream in 15 minutes. I'm coding after 30, building a project. But the last thing I'm going to say, so I was really afraid to switch careers, like, really, really scared. And I didn't want to, like, really, like, I was afraid to apply. And part of my switching careers, like, I needed to move to a place which had more opportunities than my local state that I lived. And this is why I moved to Texas. And I'm like, man, you don't know like too many people there. You only have like one friend. What if you don't get hired? What if you lose your job? And I literally played it out. I'm like, worst case scenario, like I die, whatever. And that just after that point, like you can't complain. You know, you can't complain now. You know, it's like it doesn't matter. But I literally went and was like, what if I don't get the job? Well, then I'll work 2 jobs. And I ended up working at a supermarket and like doing some other stuff on the side. But there's always something. There's like, but what if I lose that job and I can't pay my rent? Well, then you're going to get kicked out of your apartment and then you're going to be homeless, right? And like I literally went through that thought, like I'm going to be homeless. But then I was like, but no, because then I could just go and stay with my friend because I have at least one friend that's going to let me stay with them. So that's actually, no, I'm not going to get homeless. Like if I lose everything, I'll at least have one friend. John, I'm going to come to your house and at least be like, hey, at least I could stay with someone or go back, stay with your grandmother. So the things that we think are the worst things at the end of the day are not even the things that are going to be the worst things, because you have like, unless you're like, and again, it depends where you are in life. And if you really have nothing, like it's very hard. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat, but if you have family, you have like a friend, you have, and this is why I like to be nice, is so I could make friends, so I could have this fallback. But the idea is like the thing that you're afraid of being the worst thing is typically not even going to get to that level. You're always going to have someone that's going to help you out. You're always going to have someone that you could lean on. And so to me, like just kind of working through that scenario and being like, the worst case is going to happen is I'm going to stay at my friend's house for like a month, 2 months, sleeping on the couch while studying and trying to get another job, you know? And I'm like, I'm okay with that.
And I think on this point, we will close out this lovely live stream. Thank you, Paul, for putting up with my BS before.
No, it's fine. It's
yeah,
fine.
no. I was running late. I didn't know whether I will make it and everything. And yeah, thank you everyone who showed up, who participated, who commented, who was just awesome and is supporting us always. And yeah, we'll see you next time, next Friday, unless something changes.
Yeah.
And
if you,
yeah,
I was going to say, if you want to see someone live code and probably smash their head against their keyboard and cry, that's going to start in literally 10 minutes or 13 minutes at Coding After 30. So you can go check out that channel. And if you haven't smashed the button, smash it on this video because it helps others to discover this amazing stream. And John, as always, thank you so much. And thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you. See you next week. Bye-bye. Go and watch Paul's live stream. He builds stuff with Strappy.
That's right.